Hey guys, welcome back to the Clutch Attitude podcast here on YouTube. Please subscribe if you haven't and like this content. Today we're going to go over the possible opponents for Khamzat Chimaev. Right now, I did a little note taking. That way I can go over all those challengers or possible challengers. First of all, we have here what's coming up in UFC Fight Night September 6th. This is going to be in Paris, where we're going to see Nasruddin Imovov against Caio Barayo. This is what's being called the title eliminator or number one contender eliminator, where we're going to see the number one ranked middleweight in Nasruddin Imovov against the number 6 ranked Caio Barayo. This is going to be September 6th. This is going to be in Brazil. And we're going to start off with Caio Barayo. He is 7-0 and 2-0 in Dana White's Contender Series. This is a good portrait of Caio Barayo right here. His most notable win came in his last bout, which was against Cannonier. We are not counting his BJJ match or anything like that, but we are going to just talk about what his fights were with the UFC. And I have here what his strengths are, right? Well, we all know that Caio Barayo is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He is from Brazil and trains out of the Fighting Nerds in Brazil, who just went on a tear this past UFC 319. His strengths, I have him here as grappling. He's a black belt jiu-jitsu. Sets up his grappling by countering, and he has good cardio and has developed a strong striking output. He has good power. He's patient and works for takedowns on the clinch. But he also has weaknesses. His weaknesses are he's too patient, has a questionable finishing ability on the feet because, of course, most of his fights have been via decision. Favors position over submission, which leads to fights going to decision. 5 decisions in the UFC, 1 in the Contender Series. That first fight bout that he had in Contender Series, even though he won via decision, didn't guarantee him a contract to the UFC. Then he came back again to the Dana White Contender Series and was able to win the contract to the UFC, and that's how he managed to come into the UFC. Some of his bouts have been, with submission, but again, that's what I see here from Caio Barayo. He needs to find that finishing ability. Once he finds that finishing ability, there's no doubt that he can compete for the title or maybe even become a middleweight champion of the UFC. After that, we're going for Imovov, or the sniper, what they call him. He's 8-2 in the UFC. He has a four fight winning streak. This is his portrait right here. He is a striker. He's from France. He's a French striker. His most notable win is against Israel Adesanya, who in his last bout, he had a TKO. Most people would say that was a wrong stoppage or too fast or whatever. But yeah, he had Izzy hurt. He hurt him. And before he hurt him, he gave him a nasty uppercut that kind of wobbled Izzy. So, of course, the ref in that situation was already kind of watching his next moves and stuff like that. So whenever Imovov knocked him down after that, a couple strikes here and there, and the ref just took it down. I have here his strengths as striking. Of course, he's got a great jab. He has a nice 1 and 2. He has pretty much a good volume on the clinch with elbows, strikes. He has great strength, and he's patient. He's 6'3", so he's pretty big, and sets up his artillery with feints. He feints a lot. He's has great boxing. But hey, like everybody has weaknesses. This one, Imovov can struggle with high volume striker. I have an example here as Strickland, who he lost to. Also, even though he has good takedown defense, he can struggle with elite wrestling like Chimaev. So, hey, that's something that we got to see. maybe he gives Chimaev a good run for his money or a good run for his belt in this at this situation. But hey, he's a great opponent for Chimaev. I believe that his striking and his distance can give Chimaev some problems. Now we have seen what at this moment when I'm recording this video, we have seen Chimaev take over the middleweight division by beating Dricus du Plessis. In my opinion, what happened with Dricus du Plessis, he thought about this too much. He thought about, hey, I got to get better in wrestling. He thought about it too much that he didn't think how to win, And now that he has lost the way he did, that gives an opportunity to the next opponent to kind of see what Dricus did wrong. Number one, I would say Dricus du Plessis is a great fighter. I'm not going to say he's not. But now that he lost the way he did by total domination, these opponents now can see what he did wrong, or they can work on what Chimaev did right. Okay, so that was my first part, the challenger eliminator, where Imovov and Caio Barayo are going to face off each other for a possible bout against Khamzat Chimaev. Now, what Khamzat Chimaev has been talking about was that he wants to fight in Abu Dhabi. That's in October. This fight is in September. Don't know how that's going to play out, if one of these fighters is going to agree to fight in a 1-month turnaround. But if that's the case, that one of these fighters do not want to face against Chimaev in a 1-month turnaround, that opens the window up for one fight, if the UFC allows, for one fight from Chimaev against another opponent. And that's where I'm going to go up against now. Growing stock fighters. These fighters might need one more win. That's what I put as a subtitle. What does that mean? They might need one more win, because if indeed the next middleweight bout for the championship will be Khamzat Chimaev against the number one contender in this eliminator bout, then that means that these fighters are open for another fight. And the first one that I'm going to pull up is going to be my favorite to land a Abu Dhabi fight against Chimaev, and that's Reiner the Ritter. Dutch fighter, 4-0. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He has 3 finishes in the UFC and 1 split decision. That was the previous fight against Robert Whittaker. Now, that was his most notable win, and his strengths are again black belt jiu-jitsu with heavy urge to submit his opponent. Now, this is kind of like the difference between him and Caio Barayo. This guy wants to submit all the time. He specializes in rear naked chokes, arm triangles, and guillotine. He goes after submissions all the time. He has no panic, has a good fighting IQ, and has a deadly knee to the body. What do I know, right? I've seen it. Bo Nickel, seen it. Robert Whittaker has seen it. The whole UFC has seen it. This guy comes at you with that knee. I don't know how he lands it, but he does. Anyways, his volume on the clinch, and he's also 6'4", so he's really tall. He's got a long frame, kind of stocky up top. But hey, this guy on his back is a danger machine. He goes after submission. He knows his jiu-jitsu, and basically goes for the finish all the time. So that can create problems in his next opponent's fight, right? Now, again, all of them have weaknesses. This guy is not explosive at all. He has basic striking game, except for that one kick. He can struggle with heavy striking volume, and his chin is in question, has been knocked out brutally before, right? Next up, and we're going to go through this pretty quick, all right? Next up is going to be Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Now, Fluffy, his most notable win was against Roman Dolidze, and he beat Roman Dolidze by a rear naked choke where, he basically put Roman Dolidze in a choke and dragged them out. That was a pretty cool fight by Anthony Hernandez at first. I think Roman Dolidze, frame or size was going to overpower Anthony Hernandez, but that was not the case. My man Anthony Hernandez came in to fight. He came in to put his stamp on the middleweight division. Now, Anthony Hernandez is 9-2 in the UFC with an 8-5 win streak, 5 subs, 2 KOs, 2 knockouts. His strengths: great pace, wrestling background with good grappling. This is a wrestler right here. Has good striking, of course, but hey, his main thing is the wrestling and cursing, because he curses a lot. But hey, I don't blame him. Overwhelming volume, strikes to close up the distance and get takedowns to set up the submission. He works heavy on the clinch and uses short elbows and pressures with strikes to get fight on the mat, where he uses his frame to keep opponents down and gain position for submission. Again, remember, this is a wrestler, and here in America, wrestlers, what they do is they try to keep you down. That's their main goal, is to keep you down, hold you for a submission, get the finish, get out of there. He's got some weaknesses. His striking is functional but not particularly technical or varied, which can make him predictable on the feet. He relies heavily on his grappling to win fights, so opponents with strong takedown defense or superior striking could limit his effectiveness. We kind of saw this with Roman Dolidze. Roman Dolidze did not have a strong, he wasn't a striker. He did not strike at all against Anthony Hernandez, and he looked slow as hell. So basically, Anthony Hernandez kind of looked like a better striker in that exchange. And we haven't seen Anthony Hernandez fight against a high volume striker, high volume up in the feet kind of guy. But maybe his next fight, because I do think that Anthony Hernandez has the least chance to go against Chimaev out of all these guys that I've mentioned, just because he hasn't fought the best of the best, and so has Caio. Caio hasn't fought the best of the best. He has his most notable win was against Jared Cannonier, but hey, he's got a chance to go against Imovov, who is a number 1 ranked middleweight, and maybe he gets a chance at that title. Some of his other weaknesses are his high pressure style, while relentless, can sometimes leave openings for counters, and in extremely long scramble heavy battles, his cardio could be tested, this by being one of his strengths. That could be a possibility as well. Now, if Reiner the Ritter can't fight Khamzat Chimaev in Abu Dhabi for a short turnaround that can't be met by the number 1 contenders challenge, eliminator match, or however you want to call it, then Anthony Hernandez could come up and fight Khamzat Chimaev, where I see Khamzat Chimaev, just beat him really bad, and I don't think he stands a chance. But hey, if it's going to be a good match, I'm all for it. It could be, if it's anything better than the DDP match, then I'm all good for it. But anyways, all right, so what else we got here? So if these 2 fights materialize, time has passed, we find ourselves in 2026. And Khamzat Chimaev has 3 title defenses already, successful title defenses. The other thing that's going to be in his sight is going to be previous champs, right? We're going to see the Sean Stricklands, the Dricus du Plessis for a rematch, the Paulo Costa. There are issues with Paulo Costa. We saw that in the Ariel Helwani show. We have seen that in press conferences where they going back to back and forth. Supposedly a situation where Chimaev supposedly texted Paulo Costa's wife, Tamara. This is a situation that has been brewing for a while, and I don't know, maybe something happens there. Now, the Sean Strickland, there is a backstory there. They used to go to the same gym, and supposedly Sean Strickland says that he's the only guy that can stop Chimaev. Well, we're going to have to wait to see that, because all this situation right here has to materialize. Ritter, Imovov, Caio Barayo. There's some time that, there's a lot of time that has to pass. There's a lot of wins that Sean Strickland has to have, a couple other wins in order for this to materialize. What about DDP on a rematch? Do we want to see DDP in a rematch against Khamzat after total domination? I don't know. But I just know that if you give a man, if you sat down DDP and say, hey, DDP, look at this fight. Look at your performance. That's just going to give him so much heat inside. And knowing DDP, he's going to find a solution. He's going to find his way back to a title match. So never count out DDP, the South African destroyer, or whatever you guys call him. Don't count him out. This guy has racked wins against the best of the middleweight division. Let's see what happens. Now, the least favorite opponents here, I would say, is Anthony Hernandez and Paulo Costa. All the other guys, they got a chance. They got a good chance here. And hopefully we see, the reign of Khamzat Chimaev have a healthy reign, a 2-3 title defenses. But it's so interesting when you have such a domination to get to the title like that. And us, the UFC fans, we just find ourselves like, who is going to dethrone this guy? And I want to see that, I want to be able to see that. I want to be able to be like, damn, who's going to dethrone this guy? You imagine being Anthony Hernandez or maybe Sean Strickland, right? I don't know. But hey, guys, please, I beg you, like, subscribe. Let's see how far I can get out there. Help me out. Let's see how far I can get out there, really. And if you've seen this whole video and you haven't subscribed yet, I urge you to do so, because I'm getting everything ready so I can start doing this every day. Not every day, but, almost every day, because I'm still a car sales guy. So let's see what happens. Take care, and God bless. And comment, like, share, and subscribe.